How my staff supposed to make money, huh?
I ain't gonna lie, that's a crazy statement.
Okay, he said he was doing it for his staff. I don't really believe him. Maybe paid them. Paid them. You feel me? He talking about how they're supposed to make money. Maybe you can pay them. You feel me? See, that's my problem with tipping, bro. It's not that I'm not trying to see people getting paid. It's not that I don't want people to get paid. But these establishments should be paying their workers fair compensation.
She know I'm the one I go mental. How we running this shit need a medal. Niggas been in my phone, I couldn't get you.
The problem with tipping culture. Yeah, man. The problem with tipping culture. I think I'm gonna let the video play out before I give my thoughts on this, because I think I do have something to say for real. But let's see what the problem with tipping culture is. Video by 40 Shams. So let's see what's up.
Bro, what do you want, bro? What do you want? I paid for my food. I paid for my food. What are you talking? Why are you following me down the street? You need to get the fuck back. You need to get back. Why are you following me?
So the guy recording the video apparently went to this restaurant. He ordered himself a nice $25 meal, and after receiving his food, apparently he didn't tip. He ends up leaving the restaurant, and the restaurant owner / manager follows him, upset that he didn't tip.
Call 911. Call 911. If you need to settle something, you know who to call?
Yeah, they're over here. Let's go. I know them.
I'm okay. Go tell them. You go tell them.
Then you wait here. I'll call
You got 911 because he didn't tip? People be so entitled these days, bro. I promise you, bro. Because he didn't tip, you gonna call 911? Don't think that's a crime, bro.
Tell them. You go tell them. I paid for my food. I handed you $20. You can't charge me more than what the menu say. So what are you talking about? Bro, I'm not legally required to give you a fucking tip. Get the fuck back.
The guy recording the video.
Not gonna lie, that's what you call a valid crash out. Because if somebody's following you because you didn't tip them, bro, and I'm not even, this is not a regular situation. You feel me? Obviously. That guy looked like he owned whatever establishment it was, whatever restaurant. He looked like he was the owner. So he's getting this money anyways, you know what I'm saying? He's getting whatever the money is that they're paying. So he's mad that they're not tipping. Bro, you still got paid. You're not a waiter, you're not a server. I can't verify it, but I'm pretty sure that guy is not a server. I'm pretty sure he owns that business. That's a valid crash out. It's a valid crash out.
Video starts getting super defensive, and I mean rightfully so, because he's getting followed by this guy. You start to hear the nervousness in his voice, and at some point he takes a firm stance and yells at the guy to get back, and the guy doesn't respond to this well at all.
Get back. Get back, bro.
Huh?
I'm telling you to get back.
Yelling
I'm
at
not
me!
trying to fuck with you, bro. Bro, I'm not trying to fuck with you. You piece of shit. Bro, I'm trying to fuck
Goddamn
with you.
fucking yelling at me!
Bro,
Shit, man.
I paid
I'll
for my
smack
food.
the shit out
Bro,
of
I
you,
paid
punk
for my...
ass.
You're gonna smack him because he didn't give you a tip? I wish you would come around me with that type of energy, boy. Boy.
Man,
I paid for my food, bro.
piece of shit.
I paid for my food.
How the f you didn't think
Bro,
they make money?
I paid for my...
Huh?
I
How
paid
my
for
staff supposed to make money, huh?
I ain't gonna lie, that's a crazy statement.
Okay, he said he was doing it for his staff. I don't really believe him. Maybe paid him? Paid him? You feel me? He talking about how they're supposed to make money. Maybe you can pay them. You feel me? See, that's my problem with tipping, bro. It's not that I'm not trying to see people getting paid. It's not that I don't want people to get paid. But these establishments should be paying their workers fair compensation. How are you going to ask us to pay? When you go to the store, do you tip the cashier? No. You don't tip the cashier. So if you just paid them what they're supposed to be getting paid, they wouldn't even need to get tipped. You talking about how's my staff supposed to get paid? Pay them! Like, bro, that's my problem. And that's what people don't understand when I say I don't like to tip. It's not because I don't want people to get paid. But these businesses should not be hiring people and not paying them. And if I could take it a step further, this might be going too far, but I don't even care because I'm always trying to be politically correct and everything. I don't care. Why are you even working a job that you're not getting paid fairly? I understand, some people may have their situations or whatever, something that's like, maybe that's the only job they can get. So I'm not talking about those people. But for somebody who can work pretty much any job, they don't have no barriers stopping them from working normal jobs. Why are you working a job where you're depending on tips? But at the end of the day, the responsibility falls on the corporation to pay their employees. You're not dependent on me to pay them. Well, I'm already paying for the service or the good that I'm receiving. Then I gotta pay extra to make sure that whoever is helping me or serving me is making money? No, that's ridiculous. Pay your workers.
It's your staff.
So raise your price,
Huh?
bro. We can solve this. Chill.
Statement. It's your staff.
So raise your price,
Huh?
bro.
Huh?
So,
You didn't think
Bro,
they make
I
money?
pay for my-
Huh?
I
How
pay
am I
for
staff supposed to make money, huh?
So,
I ain't gonna lie, that's a crazy statement. It's your staff.
so raise your price,
Huh?
bro. We can solve this. Chill, bro. We can solve this.
police
Chill,
is right
bro.
there, bro.
We can solve this. Chill, bro.
I already know what a lot of you guys are thinking.
God knows not to put me in these type of situations because that would have played out very differently.
Now, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but if someone is following you for several blocks, clearly being malicious, cussing at you, threatening you, correct me if I'm wrong, but at a certain point, you should be able to legally shoot this person or at least, fight back somehow. Now, for anyone wondering what happened to the owner of this restaurant, all I'm gonna say is he should have let that tip go.
That was just a shame, bring shame to my wife as a husband, as an owner, at the same time, to my mom and dad.
No, I'm not even gonna do it, bro. Ooh, I almost just got canceled, bro. I almost got canceled. That's crazy, bro. All I can say is this, man. I love every human being on this planet. I don't have no prejudices or biases against anybody. That's all I can say. I love everybody.
Video ignited a debate online about tipping and led some people to leave messages.
Bro! Oh my gosh, bro. Do y'all understand? It's crazy how, like, in America, we're sheep, bro. Like, we're literally sheep. Like, the corporations and these companies literally have the people in America brainwashed. They don't tipping doesn't exist overseas because it doesn't make any sense. Tipping should not be mandatory. Tipping should not be mandatory. A tip should not be your payment. A tip is something that you get extra. It's extra. It should not be your main form of payment. That is ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Is on the sidewalk in shock, calling the business Table to Sticks anti-black.
Table to Sticks, how can I help you?
But you can tell he's a bad business owner. The fact that he's saying he's not paying his employees, he doesn't care about his business. Because at the end of the day, this was a terrible decision. I don't know what he thought he was going to accomplish by doing that, following bro around and stuff. I don't know what he thought he was going to accomplish. But I mean, the moment somebody pulls out a phone and you're acting belligerent and crazy like that, you should know more than likely that's not going to end well for you. Like, I don't understand how these people like act crazy on camera and stuff and then get all surprised when they receive backlash from the media and stuff. Like, obviously, perception is a big deal, especially if it's your business. That's why things like reviews exist. That's why things like advertisements exist, because good business owners understand that marketing is very important. So you're over here acting a fool on camera. I don't know what you thought was going to happen. Obviously, your business was going to receive some backlash because you were acting dumb. Like, what did you think was going to happen? And here's another thing too, bro. And this is something that I wasn't even planning on speaking on this, but I'm gonna speak on this, bro. I don't appreciate, bro. You see, black people, bro. This is what a lot of people don't understand. The abuse that black people receive on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not even one of those guys that just always want to pull out the race card or whatever. But it's like, it's crazy how like you don't receive any respect from any other as a black, like no other race will give black people the respect that they need. But they always want to they the way they leech off of us, like basically what I'm saying, bro. These people, and this is no hate towards anybody. This is no hate towards anybody. I want to make it very clear. I love all people. And I'm making a very generalized statement. And that's not meant to say that everyone in this community is like this. I understand that's not the case. Everyone in this community is not like this. But I don't like how you see a lot of Asians you see a lot of Asian establishments in black communities. They own all the hair products that black people use. They own the beauty supplies and the hair salons, the hair stores, or whatever. They own all of that. And then they also have their little Asian restaurants and stuff that be, they be in predominantly black areas. Obviously, they exist outside of there as well, but they make money off of black people in those communities, selling us fried chicken, fried rice. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So and all of that is fine. I do feel like we should do something about these beauty supplies not being owned by us as black people, because that's kind of crazy. But those actions alone, there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay for them to have businesses in those areas. Anybody can have whatever businesses they want. But my problem is that they open these businesses and stuff, but they don't respect the people that keep these businesses alive. Like, I haven't experienced a crazy amount of racism in my life. I haven't. But I will say, I don't even have to go there, bro. I don't even have to go there. I'm just saying, I feel like as black people, we need more respect. Because if you're offering your businesses, you're pandering to us as black people, and not even just pandering, but like you're targeting, I don't want to say targeting, but like if your business predominantly serves black people, I feel like there's a certain amount of respect and camaraderie that should come with that. But I don't feel as if that's the case. But like I said, I don't have any hate towards anybody. That's all I'm going to say about this situation. I'm probably never going to speak on this again. But that's a whole different conversation than what this video is about. I don't even know how I got down that road. But I'm just saying, because the way this guy was attacking that dude, that was pure hatred. I'm just being real. I'm just keeping it a bean. All those words, you could tell those were coming from deep inside that man's soul. He should not have felt comfortable to say that. And so maybe he wants to chalk it up to, oh, I just feel for my employees or whatever, which is like ridiculous because pay them. But I refuse to believe that. I think that example right there that we just witnessed encapsulates everything that I've just said. So I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to get that off my chest, to be real. I just wanted to get that off my chest, to be real.
I'm sorry?
The backlash has forced them to stop taking calls, deactivate their social media, while Yelp has paused any new reviews.
Now, I'm not saying what the restaurant owner did is okay by any means, but I definitely feel like he was having a moment. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially because he's a business owner. He was probably under a lot of pressure, and that was kind of his breaking point. And one thing that's a pretty good indicator of when someone is being genuine is how they...
I don't believe that, because that's a regular business interaction. You can't... That has to be a common occurrence, people not tipping. That happens within especially a restaurant business. Come on now. You're going to have people that don't tip. So I can't chalk that up to that being the breaking point for anything. Sorry, I can't.
They go about taking accountability, and it seemed like this guy took full responsibility and didn't try to do any like blame shifting. And I'm also going to give the victim the benefit of the doubt, because we never know if that was his last. You never know people's situations.
Exactly,
I've had
it's been times where it's like we couldn't even afford to tip, bro. Tipping is like it's such a crazy thing to put on. It's a crazy responsibility to put on an individual, because it's like, bro, it's been times when folks was saving up for the $5 just to get a Little Caesars, bro. So if a meal costs $5, then you want somebody to pay. They don't even got the extra to tip. They don't even got it. That's all I'm saying, bro.
Moments where I bought food and I couldn't afford to tip. And for all the people who perpetuate and believe in the stereotype that black men are violent, I just want to say that this situation shows you that it's not all of us. Now, obviously, there's a much bigger problem that needs to be addressed here, which is American tipping culture. So today we're going to talk about tipping culture and how it went from being a gesture to an unspoken rule. To understand,
if you know, you know. I'm a very big, I love Asian culture. I have a lot of love for the Asian community and Asian culture as a whole. I don't have to prove it to anybody. If you know, you feel me? Especially if you know me personally. Nobody can say anything different. Most of the media I consume is Asian created. You feel me? So I have no problem with the people at all. At all. But I just have to be real. Especially as black people, that's another thing. You know, a lot of times the love that we have for other cultures and other people is not reciprocated back to us. And that's just a fact. I'm not saying that's the case with the Asian community, because we have gotten a lot of love from the Asian community as well. But within every race, there's always prejudice, bro. And that's just a fact. Every group of people have a prejudice community. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what it is, bro.
Understand how America basically came up with a second way to tax its citizens, we got to go back to the 20th century. In the 1800s, tipping was actually considered un-American.
But
People thought,
you know, I'm over here apologizing and pandering and stuff. This is all y'all need to know, bro. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Look at these examples, bro. Let me get a better picture for y'all. This is Black Panther. This was the movie poster that came out for Black Panther. Now, this was the same movie poster released in China. They covered up his face. Black Panther. It is a known fact that black movies or characters or movies that feature predominantly black characters do worse globally as because of the Chinese market. Black Panther was produced by Disney. Disney owns Marvel. So even Disney is acknowledging this. This was the same. They attributed this to the failure of the Little Mermaid. For those of you guys who don't know, the Little Mermaid did not do what it was expected to do. Not because it was a bad movie. It did good here in the U.S., but because its global sales weren't as good as it was supposed to be because it was a black character portraying Ariel. Look at this. Another example. John Boyega in this film, I mean in this poster right here. This was the poster we got and most countries got. And this was the poster for China. I just missed, bro. Look how small they made him. So we're not going to act as if there's no prejudice there. And like I said, I know it's not everyone. Is this another example? I've never even seen this before. Yeah, man. She's gone. So we're not going to sit here and act as if this isn't a thing. We're not. It's just what it is, bro. So don't even come here starting nothing, bro. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest.
It created an unfair class system. But after the Civil War, restaurants, especially those who didn't want to pay black workers, started encouraging tips so they can avoid paying their workers their wages. And then fast forward to 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act was passed. It basically allowed businesses to pay tipped workers below minimum wage, assuming that tips would make up the difference. And to this day, some states still allow a $2.13 base wage for tipped workers.
But that's ridiculous. How can anybody survive off of $2? Off of $2, bro? And the responsibility should not be how. So that means, okay, if minimum wage is $7, right? If minimum wage is $7, and these establishments are allowed to pay their employees $2, that means the rest of the money to get to minimum wage, which is what? That's $5. That's expected of the consumer. So they put more pressure on the consumer than even themselves. If it was like, oh, they pay $5 and they expect consumers to pay $2 in tips to make up for the difference, that would even be more understandable. Although $7 minimum wage in 2025 is ridiculous. Let's just be real. So even if you're making that, you're still not making any money at all. But if that was the case, where they were paying $5 and they expected the difference to be made up by the consumer and a $2 tip, that would be more understandable. But they put more responsibility on the consumer to make up the minimum wage gap of $5. That's ridiculous. You see why I don't believe in tipping, bro? Because it makes 0 sense. It makes 0 sense.
$2.13.
As a workers' rights lawyer, I can confirm that is true. This is called a tipped minimum wage, and under federal law, employers are allowed to pay $2.13 per hour so long as the employee's tips meet the full minimum wage. That means the employer gets to take your tips and use it to meet their minimum wage obligation.
Now let's compare American tipping culture to the rest of the world. In Japan, tipping is basically offensive. You're expected to do your job with pride. You try to tip your sushi chef, and they're probably gonna feel insulted. In France, a small service fee is already included, and if you leave a couple coins, great, they're appreciated, but no one's gonna give you side eyes if you don't. In Australia, servers earn a livable wage regardless of tips, so a tip is more like a pleasant surprise instead of an obligation. In Germany, if you round up the bill, maybe leave like 5-10%, it's cool. But see, it's mostly in America where you find the fed up public versus the entitled, a lot of times desperate workers. And that's part of the reason why we have this rising conflict between frequent restaurant goers or people.
So in Japan, they don't even like to be tipped. Yet that guy was crashing out. Now, I don't know if he's Japanese. I don't know. But just saying that's one Asian country right there that they don't even tip. So if that guy is Japanese, that would be crazy that he had that level of attitude. I don't know if he is. He doesn't look Japanese, honestly. But that would just be wild, bro.
People who use any service that includes tipping. And the
And
other
I say
side,
that
which is
because
tip.
a lot of East Asian cultures are similar. So obviously it's not a one-to-one everywhere. It's not the same everywhere, but it has some similarities. So if that's the case in Japan, it's very possible that could be the case in another Asian country like China, Korea, Vietnam, countries like that. I'm not saying it is the case, but it's very likely that it could be because their cultures are their cultures share a lot of similarities.
Tipped workers. I've seen a multitude of videos of tipped workers getting online and complaining about how they served a large party and the party didn't tip enough and how they regret putting in all that effort.
I asked my table for a tip after they were gonna stiff me. And I don't care how much hate I get for this. It's a Saturday night. I'm being told I'm gonna get a party of 16, which I said, great, bring it on. Let's go, easy money. So I thought, okay? So the party of 16 gets sat in my section. They take up 3 tables in my section. So when you get sat a party, you usually get skipped in rotation a few times because you're dealing with a big party. I get to the table, I introduce myself, I do my whole spiel. Before I'm finished even speaking, one guy's like, whoa, hey, stop. He said, hold on. He said, you're not going to talk to them, you're going to talk to me. I'm going to order everybody's food and then I'll give you the drinks. I said, okay, perfect. What are we having to drink? He said, no, I'm going to give you the food first and then I'm going to give you the drinks. I said, okay, perfect. What will you be having? Okay. I said, perfect. I've sent in the order for you. He said, and make it quick because we have somewhere to be. That's where I almost lost my shit. Because how do you come out to a restaurant, order 7 omelets and tell me to hurry up?
So the lady goes on to explain how they provided excellent service.
That was wild. That was wild.
The food came out super quick and she made sure that they had
And
everything.
look, the blame does not fall on the workers. They're the unfortunate party in this whole situation because they're the ones who's not getting paid. So they don't deserve any blame. The blame falls on the owners of these businesses. That's where the blame falls. Because they should not feel comfortable paying their workers $2.13. It's just a fact. Sorry.
They needed. Which, don't get me wrong, that's nice and all, but that's what you're supposed to do. That should be the standard. So after her patience and providing them with excellent service, this is what happened.
When it came to pay, he pays me cash. He gives me $321, which means no tip. And I was like, okay. So I went to the table. There's no tip at the table, anything. I said, okay, I'm going to go ask him. So I went up to him. I said, excuse me, sir. You only gave me...
I'm going to let it play out. I know I've been pausing it a lot. I'm going to let it play.
$321. I just wanted to ensure that this was accurate. You're not going to leave any gratuity. I just wanted to make sure everything came out to your expectations. You enjoyed your food. Everything was to your liking. And, I just want to make sure. He said, well, I didn't know it was mandatory. I said, no, it's not mandatory. I just wanted to ensure that this was accurate, that nobody took the tip off the table or anything like that. This man pulls out a $50 bill, gives it to me, kind of like, here's your tip and shut the fuck up, get out my face type shit, which I don't give a fuck, because how dare you go out to eat in a party of 16 on a tab of $320 and not tip?
Now look, I don't agree with the man being rude to her, but when it comes to tipping, I really feel like it's a case by case, person by person type of.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I don't agree with them being rude to her either, but I've never worked as a waiter or a server. So I don't know, but like, is $50 tip? That sounds pretty good to me. Or I guess tipping is supposed to be 18% to 20% of whatever the bill is. So let me see. What would that be? The bill was $321. Make sure my math is right. So the bill was the bill was $321. With the 18% of that would be the tip. That's $57.78. So they gave her $50 tips. I mean, I guess they were off by a couple dollars, but I mean, I feel like that was worth it, right? A $50 tip sounds a lot to me. I don't know, but it sounds all right to me. Obviously, I know people have tipped more before, $100, $200, but it sounds all right to me. I don't know, but I get it. I mean, she said they were rude to her, I guess, but if they were rude to you, to be honest, you probably shouldn't have expected anything. If we're being real, if they being rude to you, you already know they probably gonna stiff you. I'm just saying, no person with decency is just gonna be rude for no reason to their server. You feel me? Like, no decent person is just going to be rude to their server for no reason. Just saying.
Because you're not legally required to tip. And then there's another aspect where people start shaming you for the amount that you tip. Like, these restaurants and these servers expect you to tip more than 20% of the meal's value. And not gonna lie, that's kind of crazy in this economy. Especially when you think about the people who sometimes have to eat out. I mean, if they eat out a couple of times and they tip every time, it's gonna get to a point where the amount that they tipped could have paid for another meal. And if you're tipping like 20% plus, all it takes is like 4 or 5 times eating out, and you would have paid for a whole nother meal with the amount that you tipped. And I'd also like to point out that this 20% tip is expected regardless of service quality, or shoot, even service to begin with. Like, they could just be handing you your food and they'll expect this fat tip.
Pause.
And don't even get me started with the self-serve type of restaurants. Like, sir, ma'am, I picked this muffin up off the counter. You guys don't offer table service, no refills, just muffins. Shoot, at this point, you should be tipping me. And we aren't talking enough about the new meta for tipping, iPads.
These screens are designed to make you spend more money. Compared to a tip jar, on-screen prompts turn tipping or not tipping into an active choice, not a passive choice. Plus, the user interface design on these tip POS systems can influence people.
I'm gonna tell y'all a story. So I went out one time with my sister and some of her friends for her birthday, and it was this one guy there, and he was there pretty early on or whatever. So we there, or whatever, we ordering food or whatever, and so he ordered his food, and yeah, he ordered his food, but he tipped in advance for his food. I guess he calculated like how much his food was going to be. He got food for himself and for his girlfriend and a bottle for the table. So he tipped off the rip. Went ahead and tipped up front before he even got his bill. Tipped. Then, the end of the night, everybody's paying their bills or whatever. He gets his bill, he pays it. And they've already added a tip onto his bill. But he already tipped. But his tip was already included in his bill. So he ended up tipping twice in one night for one meal. I felt sorry for bro. I ain't gonna lie. I felt sorry for bro. I didn't feel too sorry because I had to tip 60% on my stuff. 60%. Why am I tipping 60% on food, bro? It's crazy, bro. I can't even. So whatever pity I had for bro, it did not last long because I ended up pitying myself for that night. Because trust me, that bill was high. You feel me? That bill was high. But let's go on.
To tip more than they typically would, simply by increasing the percentages of the default tip option. According to this study by Cornell, setting the default options higher than 25% caused fewer people to tip. But overall tip revenue increased because customers who decided to tip still gave more. This kind of manipulation of the user is what we call dark design patterns in user experience design. There are also cases where the tips don't make it back to the workers.
You'll go buy some.
Bro. And that's why I don't like too, because I know a lot of times the workers don't even get their tips. It just be the companies making more money. The workers, I know they don't be seeing that money all the time, bro. Come on now. You know they don't always see their tips. And I hate that. I hate that.
Coffee, buy some food, whatever. And then after you get your food, they'll flip the iPad and then you see a screen. And the screen will show you several options of what you can tip by percent. Most of the time, the least you can tip is like 18%. Sometimes it's like 20 to 25%. And keep in mind, they make these tipping icons huge and then they put no tip all the way at the bottom and it's usually super small. And besides the no tip, there's usually a button to adjust.
Oh, trust me, I'm going to find it every time. It don't matter how small it is. I'm going to find it.
The tip. And it's little tricks like these that these establishments use to pressure you into tipping. Because a lot of times when you're paying for your food, especially if you got a line of people waiting behind you, you don't want to press no tip because then you'll get a death stare from the worker. And you also don't want to press adjust tip because it's going to take so long to adjust the tip and you got people waiting behind you. So all you're really left with is pressing one of the options on the screen, which usually ends up with you tipping more than you wanted to tip to begin with. And now if this is a sit down dining restaurant and you sat down and dined, if that tip isn't fat enough, they might stare you down, they might chase you down, or shoot, you might end up on their TikTok.
Okay, $320, right? Minimum 15% gratuity would have been $48. So he basically just gave me the minimum, which is fine. But if you don't got money to go to tip, don't even go out to eat.
Dang.
Who the f do you think you are? That is a crazy statement to make. I can't lie.
That is a crazy statement. They gave you $50. You even made more than the minimum. What you mad at them for? They still gave you $50. I mean, I guess you said they were rude to you, but man, this is crazy, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro.
People need to stop making it seem like it's illegal to not tip. Tipping is completely optional. And I'm saying this as someone who always tips. The only time I haven't tipped is when I received horrible customer service.
And I do tip. Recently, I've started. And when I say recently, I mean in recent years. You know, it's been a couple years now that I've been tipping. But before, I'm saying this as somebody who tips but doesn't like to. You feel me? I mean, but like you said, if I go to one of those places where I'm serving myself, I'm not paying no tip. I'll keep it a bean. I'm not paying no tip. If I'm serving myself, I'm not paying nothing. I'm just keeping it above 50. You're not getting no money from me. Sorry, not sorry. Honestly, I don't care.
Service, or if I was just down bad financially. Like, it's genuinely scary how tipping has become almost like a second tax for American citizens. And the crazier part is people are starting to use this tipping system in other professions as well. And some of them are using it to scam people.
My grandma almost got scammed for $400 by who? A plumber. A plumber came to her house.
Right,
okay.
Bro, that's another thing too. It's starting to be stuff other than food. Folks want to get tipped, boy. I mean, I guess it's always been like that. Like, you tip the valet, you tip, I don't know, somebody at a hotel, I guess. But, man, if you're doing a service, I guess on the service, you always want to get tipped. Even barbers, they be wanting to get tipped too. I don't know, bro.
The total was $2,000. He flipped over an iPad and gave her an iPad 15, 20, and 25%. My grandma, God bless her heart, I love her so much, but she clicked 20%. Thank God my dad was there. He was like, hey, what's this extra $400 charge? And the plumber had the balls to say, oh, that's the gratuity. Are you kidding me? Like, not only is that crazy and should be almost illegal, but how is a plumber gonna flip the iPad over and say, yo, gratuity?
Now, I know some people are going to try to argue that that wasn't a scam, and sure, you might be right, but he was still taking advantage of the elderly. Because anyone who isn't super late in their years and is completely there can obviously see how crazy a $400 tip is. And for all the people who might be going out over the weekend, drinking, and going to some of these restaurants, be careful because they try to scam people too. This restaurant almost got away with charging this couple $70 for a slice of pizza. And although this couple avoided getting scammed, I'm pretty sure other people didn't.
The guy was basically like, oh, you didn't mean to tip? And my husband was like, no. you didn't even show me the screen. I was never shown a screen to tip. Like, what are you talking about? And then my husband started getting pissed because he's like, are you trying to play me like I'm stupid? Like, you're saying that I added this tip. I didn't add this tip. So then the guy started getting red and flustered and stuff because, like, obviously he was caught in adding this tip to the bill. He was, like, trying to finesse the drunk people that were coming in, too, because he was, like, adding a tip in manually for them. Like, the slices would be, like, $10, and he would be like, how about $35 for a tip? How about $20? And these people would be like, okay, fine, 25. I'm like, this dude is just finessing these drunk people.
And just the interesting side note, studies show that tipping is heavily influenced by
$10 for a slice of pizza is crazy. Sometimes you do what you gotta do, but I would never have to do that.
Attractiveness, race, gender, and even whether the server draws a smiley face on the receipt. So if you thought tipping was a fair meritocracy, just know you're wrong. It's more like a shallow popularity contest. And look, I'm not here to blame the people or blame the workers. It's these businesses that are setting their wages so low that their workers need to rely on these aggressive tipping tactics.
Exactly, bro. I said it.
To pay their bills. Now, a lot of these workers are arguing that if no one pays tips or, a good enough tip, these businesses are gonna start putting what they would have earned from tips into the price of the food. And to be honest, I prefer that. That way, everyone is guaranteed their pay, and it doesn't feel like anyone is forced to have this transactional encounter. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty obvious to see when a server is forcing themselves to put up with you. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Should America continue its tipping system, or should we ban tipping? And do you think it'll have a negative or a positive outcome? If you made it this far, I appreciate you so much.
I don't think tipping should be banned, but I don't think companies should be allowed to use tipping as a form of payment. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say on this. So, yeah, man. This is probably the most honest you guys have ever seen me. You feel me? But this is something that's been this is something I've thought about for years. You feel me? This is something I thought about for years. But let me know what you guys thought. Shout out to 40 Shams. This was a great video. Shout out to him. He always does good videos. And yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it and everything. Make sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on post notifications to see everything that I upload. And I really appreciate all the support. Catch up with y'all. See y'all later. Bye.
Yeah, you know I'm the one I go mental. How we running this shit, need a medal. Niggas been in my phone, I couldn't get you.